Hello, this is Delano, and today we're going to be talking about creating a private Git server on the Windows operating system. That is, a Git server located on a computer attached to a private network that you or your team have complete control over and can secure as you see fit. Now, we all know and love GitHub, which has really revolutionized the way that we share data across the internet. GitHub offers us many services, most notably the ability to create and push data to public repositories that we can use to collaborate with people across the world and teams across the world, especially with large open source projects. And for a small fee, GitHub also allows us to create private repositories that we could share within a private group, right? But today we're going to be talking about creating our own private Git server located on our own network that we have complete control over. All right, so the first thing that we need to do in this process is to actually install Git. So I'm going to go over to the internet and just search for Git, right? And here, git.scm.com, that's the link you want to click on. And click on Downloads, Windows. And I'm going to save this file. Alright. Now the second thing that we want to get is we want to get an SSH server, right? So let's reach out to the internet again and let's go back to Google and search for Bitvice. Click on download. Alright, and we actually want to download the Bitvice SSH server, right? Let's click on that. Installer. Alright, so just save that as well. So now we have both files downloaded to our computer. So I'm just going to go where I have those files downloaded and double click on the installer for Git. Alright, so we're going to click Next, Next, Next. And here I like to leave the setting here. This is to incorporate Git with Windows Explorer. So when you right click on a folder, you'll have the Git options on your context menu. I think it's just best to leave these default options, but you could choose whatever options you like. Click Next. Click Next. Alright. Here we could use Git from the Git bash only, but I like to incorporate it with the command prompt so I could issue the Git commands from the command prompt as well if I'd like to. Alright, so let's just click Next. It's best to leave this default setting here, right? Now we're going to just complete this installation. Alright, and click Finish. Alright, so now that we have installed Git, we have actually installed the Git server. It's that simple, really. The Git software actually is composed of many different binaries that offer different features. And so there's no really any Git client out there or a Git server, really. It's just all the features are located in the Git installation. If we just go here to Program Files, Git, we could see that we have many different binaries here, and they really contain all the features that we need and are looking for. But once we add the SSH server, that just allows us to utilize those features. But you know, Git by itself is both a client and a server. All right, we just install this SSH server so that it has the ability to really act as a server and reach out or service client requests. All right. So the second thing that we actually want to do is we want to install the SSH server. So let's double click on that installer. All right, and we're just going to click accept. All right, just leave this default option for the default site here. All right, and just click install. All right, so that was pretty simple, right? So now you just close this. There's no change. All right, so now the server is installed. All right, so now that we have both Git and the SSH Server Bitvice installed, we can actually simulate pushing and cloning repositories to this server here. All right, before we do that, let's take a quick look at the SSH Server Configuration through the control panel. All right, we're going to click here, Edit Advanced Settings, Windows Groups, and as you can see, by default, the Everyone group is set up and allowed to connect. You could set up more fine-grained settings if you want, but I like to just leave the Everyone group checked. And then if I need to set up any more specific settings, I set that in the user settings. Let's click Edit here. If we look, again, it's allowed to connect. Password authentication is allowed, all right, along with public key authentication. We'll go over that in another video. But here, we're looking at password authentication is allowed by default. So anyone that's actually allowed to connect or has an account that's allowed to connect to this computer is able to actually connect using Git and password authentication. All right. So if we scroll down a little bit further, we'll see that when you connect by default, you'll be connecting to the home directory. And another important setting that I'll go over a little bit more later is the convert Git parameters. This is an important setting that allows the cleanup of Git parameters that are passed to the SSH server. For instance, when you're doing a Git clone or you're doing a push. All right. All right, so this computer that I'm working on here is a virtual computer, and if I minimize that, you could see that this is the host computer here. All right, so what we want to do is we want to simulate having a repository on the server and being able to push and pull from this computer. All right, so now that we're back on the server, what we're going to do is we're going to create an empty repository here on the server that we're going to pull down to the remote host. Okay, so as I showed you earlier, here in the Git SSH server, go to Advanced Settings, Windows Groups, Edit. The home directory is the user's home directory when they connect by default via SSH. All right. So we left that default. So now let's go to the user's home directory and create the empty repository. I'm going to create a folder here called Git subfolder. We're going to call that repos, for short for repository. And within here, we're going to create a repository. And I'm going to call that test.git. Now, the repository on the server is the same thing as it is on the local computer that you're working on, right? The repository is nothing but a folder, and it's just standard to name it .git. This is the equivalent and the same thing as the regular .git folder that you have on your local computer. All right, so let's go into this folder and create an empty repository, and we do that by right-clicking. Again, I checked the option, as you saw when we were installing, to incorporate Git Bash into Windows Explorer. So if you look here, you will see on your context menu the Git options. I'm going to click Git Bash. And from here, I'm going to enter the command git init bear. Alright, so what that did, it just made test.git an empty repository, right? There's nothing really stored in here as yet, nothing really backed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to pull this repository down from the remote host. Alright, so let's go over to the remote host. Alright, so now we're back on the host computer, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to pull down that empty repository that we just created. So we're going to create a folder here on the desktop. I'm going to name that repos. Again, short for repository or repositories. And in here is where we're going to pull down that repository. Okay, so we're just going to right click here. From the context menu, we're going to click Git Bash. Alright, so now we're going to enter the command to pull it down. Now if you remember, we created that repository in the user's home directory in a folder called Git, subfolder repos, and then the name of the repository test.git. The name of the server is OK Server, and we're connecting with the user timbuilt. Alright, so command then will be git clone, and then the URL. Protocol is SSH. It's going to be user, which is timbuilt, at server, which server name is OK Server. Just replace those with the name of your users and server. All right. We're going to put a tilde to symbolize the root of the home directory. Subdirectory is Git, followed by repos, followed by test.git. Now when I enter this command, if you do not have the server, or if it's the first time you're running this command, you might see a message to accept the server host key as one of your known hosts. You could just type yes to that. I'm going to click enter here, quoting repository. I'm going to have to enter the password for this user. Enter. And I see that this has failed, stating that git upload pack is not a recognized internal or external command. So in order to fix this, what we're going to do is we're going to hop back over to the server. And we're going to go into, we're going to edit the path to include the paths of the Git binaries. Alright, so we're going to click Start, right click on Computer, Properties, and we could either go here to Advanced System Settings, or we could click here, Change Settings, and click on the Advanced tab. Then click on Environment Variables. On the bottom, scroll down to Path, the path variable, and we're going to need to append the path of the Git binaries here. Alright, so let's just open up Alright, so here we have the Git folder. We're going to add the bin directory. Alright, so let's copy this. I'm going to append that to the path. So on the path, just click Edit and go to the very end. Put a semicolon. It's semicolon delimited the path, so we separate each path path by a semicolon. Let's paste the bin path, put another semicolon, and then we're going to get the path to the libexec git core directory. Right? Just copy that, and we're going to paste that right here. Click OK. Click OK again. OK. Let's close these. And now let's go back to the host computer and try that command again. Alright, we're going to enter the password. Here we're doing password authentication. We're going to be going over in a subsequent video public key authentication. Right now we're just using regular Windows password authentication. Alright? So SSH Server allows that. So we're just going to click enter. Alright. So says, warning, you appear to have cloned an empty repository. Alright, perfect. That's exactly what we expected. So if we go in here, we see that there's nothing here, we just have our Git folder. Alright, so if we just, if we cd into that folder, alright, which is test, alright, and we do a git status, see it's empty. We could add a file here, for instance test, enter some text, save that, and we could push that now. Let's try to push that up to the repository. Let's do another git status. As we see, that file there is edited. So let's do a git add, right? Git status again. Alright, perfectly, that's staged. And now we're just going to do a commit. Git commit. Just going to call this commit 1. Alright, so now that's committed. And now we want to just push that up to the Git server. Alright, so if we look here, git remote, we see that we have origin. So let's just take a look at that. Right? And that points directly to where we got the repository from. Alright? So we're going to push back up to this remote. So I'm going to enter git push origin, and currently on the branch, I'll just show. Alright, oops, sorry, git branch. Currently on the branch master, obviously that's the only branch, that's the default branch, the only branch we have. So we're going to push that branch. Alright, so we're going to git push, we're going to push the origin, and what we're going to push is master. It's going to ask us for the password for this user again. As you can see, this is secure. And this user here should have write permissions to the directory where the repository is being stored. All right? This user does, and so I'm just going to enter the password. And we have pushed to the repository, as you could now see. Alright, so to test that, we could just go here, and directly on the desktop I could open up a new bash. Alright, so git bash. Alright, and we're just going to clone that repository from the server. So we're going to enter git clone SSH built at OK server tilde. We're going to enter now git repos test.git, that's the path, and just hit enter. It's going to ask us for the password. Enter the password. That should have been cloned. Alright, so here on the desktop you can see the file we just got. If we open it, as you can see, it has the data there, and it has the information that we added. So in short, that is how you can set up a Git server. It takes very minimal effort, and in the next video I'm going to go over configuring public key authentication. Alright, so hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Alright, bye.